In the quiet moments of self-reflection, we often confront the dissonance between the truths we yearn for and the comforting illusions we've embraced. Carl Jung, the eminent Swiss psychiatrist, delved deep into this internal conflict, emphasizing the journey towards individuation, the process of becoming one's true self. This journey necessitates shedding the layers of falsehoods and societal expectations that have been internalized over time. Jung believed that true freedom is not found in external circumstances, but within the depths of our psyche. He stated, "Our freedom does not lie outside us, but within us. One can be bound outside, and yet one will still feel free, since one has burst inner bonds." This inner liberation requires confronting the shadow, the repressed, often uncomfortable aspects of ourselves. By acknowledging and integrating these facets, we move closer to authenticity. The path to self-realization is fraught with challenges. It demands the courage to face our deepest fears and the humility to accept our imperfections. As Jung aptly noted, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This enlightenment is not a destination, but a continuous process of self-discovery and growth. Embracing this journey means relinquishing the comfort of lies, the narratives we've constructed to shield ourselves from pain and uncertainty. It involves questioning long-held beliefs, challenging societal norms, and daring to live authentically. In doing so, we may face isolation or misunderstanding, but we also open ourselves to profound self-awareness and genuine connections. Ultimately, the pursuit of freedom is an act of courage. It is a commitment to living truthfully, even when the truth is uncomfortable. By letting go of comforting illusions, we create space for genuine growth, deeper understanding, and a life aligned with our true selves. In the words of Jung, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Awakening to our inner truths may be daunting, but it is the only path to true freedom. And in that awakening, the illusions begin to die. Not all at once, but quietly, painfully, truth by truth. The lie that you must be agreeable to be loved. The lie that success is measured by external applause. The lie that fitting in is safer than standing alone. These lies dissolve under the heat of awareness, and what's left is you. Raw, unfiltered, uncompromising. The freedom you sought wasn't behind locked doors. It was buried under the mask you were taught to wear, beneath every performance, every silent compromise, every time you chose peace over truth. But now, you choose differently, not to be accepted, but to be integrated, not to be impressive, but to be whole. This is where power begins, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that radiates, the kind that comes from a man or woman who has nothing left to hide, because they faced the abyss and didn't flinch. They've kissed their shadow and called it sacred. They've sacrificed comfort for clarity. And what they found was not emptiness, but essence. That is the real cost of freedom. You lose the lies, and in doing so, you find your life. And when you find your life, not the one scripted for you, not the one expected of you, but the life that pulses from your core, you stop asking for permission. You stop explaining your choices to people still living behind veils. You stop shrinking to soothe their fears or performing to sustain their illusions. Because now you know, truth doesn't scream. It radiates. It doesn't demand agreement. It simply is. And from that place, you begin to attract a different kind of world. One where conversations aren't measured by convenience, but by courage. Where love isn't a contract of silence, but a covenant of presence. Where work isn't a treadmill, but an offering of your soul. Every false thing you let die. Make space for something real to live. And it won't always be comfortable. Truth rarely is. But comfort was never the goal. Freedom was. And freedom, true, radical, soul-deep freedom, comes only when you burn the script. When you look yourself in the eye and say, no more pretending, no more hiding, no more lies dressed as safety, because you are no longer willing to pay that price. You have paid enough. Now you rise, unmasked, unmoved, unmistakably you. And from this rising, a new life begins. Not a life without pain, but a life where pain has meaning. Not a life without challenge, but a life where every challenge refines you rather than defines you. You will lose people, but you will never lose yourself again. You will walk alone, but never in betrayal of your soul. You will be misunderstood, but clarity will become your compass. Because now you live by a different law. Not the law of conformity, but of consciousness. Not the law of approval, but of alignment. You don't chase truth anymore. You embody it, and that embodiment will cost you everything that was never really yours. The roles, the masks, the applause, gone, but in their place, a deeper peace, a wilder joy, a stillness that cannot be shaken. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to be liberated. You are here to awaken others simply by refusing to sleep again. So let them call you too much, too honest, too raw, too real. That's how you'll know you're free. Because freedom has never looked like a smile. It's looked like a fire, like a storm, like a soul remembering who it is after lifetimes of forgetting. This is not the end. This is the arrival. Welcome back to your life. Welcome back to the truth. And now that you're here, fully, finally, irrevocably here, you realize the world hasn't changed. You're no longer asking the world to understand you. You're asking yourself, every day, will I understand me deeper today than I did yesterday? Because that's the only way forward now. Not through more information, but through initiation. Through the daily descent into your own psyche. Through the honest conversations with your resistance. Through the discipline of choosing what is real over what is familiar. This is the journey of the awakened, the fierce, sacred rebellion of those who no longer outsource their identity to systems built on their sedation. And you are one of them now. Not because you read it in a book, but because you bled for it. You wept for it. You walked through fire for it. The lies didn't leave easily. They clung. They begged. They masqueraded as kindness, as duty, as love. But you saw through it. You chose truth anyway. And for that, you will never be the same. So carry this freedom like a torch. Not to burn the world, but to illuminate it. Let your life be the proof that living without lies is not only possible, but powerful beyond measure. You are not free because you escaped. You are free because you refuse to pretend a moment longer. And now, the truth walks with you, always. It walks beside you in silence. It echoes in your actions. It hums in the rhythm of your decisions, even when no one is watching, especially then. You no longer crave the spotlight because your soul burns with a quieter flame, one that doesn't flicker for attention, but roars with conviction. You don't explain your freedom to those who fear it. You live it unapologetically, because to explain it would be to reduce it, and to reduce it would be to betray it. The people who are meant to meet you in this fire, they will. Not all at once, but in time, because truth recognizes itself in others. It pulls them in, not with persuasion, but with presence. And that's what you've become. A presence, a reminder, a mirror, a storm, and a stillness. You've stopped playing roles. You've stopped asking for costumes. You've stopped looking for stages, because the performance is over. And the real you, the wild, raw, radiant, relentless you, has stepped forward, not as a reaction, but as a revelation. This is not about rebellion for rebellion's sake. This is about remembrance. You are not free because the world gave you permission. You are free because you reclaimed your name, the one whispered into your spirit long before the world told you who to be. Now, you answer only to that voice. And in doing so, you become untouchable, not invincible, but indomitable. Because truth doesn't guarantee ease. It guarantees power. And you are finally ready to wield it. Because the one who has reclaimed their truth is no longer afraid to walk alone. Not because they prefer solitude, but because they understand truth is a path walked by the few, but felt by the many. And when you walk it long enough, others begin to follow. Not because you asked them to, but because they saw the weight you carried, the illusions you broke, the light you refused to dim. They saw you bleed and not beg. They saw you fall and not fold. They saw you die to the lie and rise into something terrifyingly alive. You didn't tell them what truth was. You embodied it. And that was enough. Because now your presence speaks louder than any sermon. Now your eyes say more than any doctrine. Now your silence disrupts entire narratives. You've become the contradiction to a culture obsessed with comfort. You've become the medicine for a world addicted to numbness, not by force, but by fierce being. You are no longer seduced by survival. You are no longer convinced that peace is found in pretending. You've discovered a peace born from burning everything false and standing in the ashes without flinching. And if there's one thing you know now, with a clarity carved from fire, it's this: freedom is not a destination. It's a daily death and a daily resurrection. And you die to the lie every single day so that the truth can live through you. That is your power. That is your legacy. That is the price you've paid. And the prize you've become, because now you are the storm that doesn't destroy, but awakens. The presence that doesn't dominate, but liberates. You are the one who walks into rooms and shifts the air, not because of what you say, but because of what you no longer tolerate. You no longer tolerate self-betrayal. You no longer tolerate the cheap highs of approval. You no longer tolerate the shallow narratives that kept generations asleep, because you are not here to play small, to keep others comfortable. You are not here to conform, to dim, to shrink. You are here to rupture the lie of what is normal. And you rupture it not through rebellion, but through rootedness, not through anger, but through alignment. You don't scream to be heard. You whisper with unwavering calm. and the world still leans in. You don't argue for your worth. You embody it. And that is what unsettles the most. Because when a person stops needing to be chosen, they become unchainable. When they stop seeking permission, they become untouchable. When they stop fearing solitude, they become unbreakable. And that's what you are now. You've become the thing the system can't predict. The man no longer ruled by impulse. The woman no longer ruled by guilt. The soul no longer ruled by fear. You walk this world with ancient fire in your bones and silence on your lips, because truth doesn't perform. It permeates. And you are permeating everything now. You are no longer a participant in the performance. You are the pause that breaks it. You are no longer the actor in the play. You are the fire that burns the script. And this is the true revolution. Not waged in streets, but in the psyche. Not broadcast on screens, but unfolding in sacred, silent moments of choice. You chose truth over comfort. You chose clarity over chaos. You chose yourself over the self the world told you to be. And in doing so, you didn't become better. You became real. You became the one they whisper about, the one they don't understand, but cannot ignore, the one who left the path, walked through shadow, and came back whole. Because you know now, freedom was never about doing what you want. It was about unbecoming everything you're not, and standing rooted, clear, unshakable in what remains. You are what remains. The truth that survived, the flame that didn't go out, the soul that said yes to the fire and no to the lie. You are not here to fit in. You are here to transcend. And the world, whether it knows it yet or not, has already started to change. Because you finally stopped pretending. And now that the pretending is over, you breathe differently. You walk differently. You exist differently. There's a weight that's gone. The weight of needing to be liked. The weight of pleasing everyone but yourself. The weight of smiling while suffocating. And what fills its place is not arrogance, but authority. Not noise, but knowing. Not control, but command. You command your space, your voice, your destiny. Because when a person remembers who they are, truly remembers, they don't beg for belonging. They create it. They don't adjust their truth to be palatable. They speak it like thunder and let it shake loose everything not built to last. And now that you become this, not a version, but the vision, you no longer chase validation because you validate yourself with every breath you take. And make no mistake, this level of presence, it costs everything that was ever false about you. But what you gain in return is everything real. Love that doesn't clip your wings. Work that doesn't drain your soul. Silence that doesn't suffocate. Power that doesn't corrupt. Because the person you become doesn't need to manipulate to lead, or dominate to be strong, or suffer to be worthy. You just are. And in a world addicted to becoming, to proving, improving, hustling, hiding, your very existence is the loudest revolution. Because when you arrive as yourself, unmasked, unafraid, unedited, you become the standard that shatters every false expectation. Not because you rebel for its own sake, but because your truth refuses to kneel. You walk into rooms and bring permission with you, not through words, but through presence. You remind people what freedom feels like, just by being unwilling to abandon your own. And yes, they may not understand it. Some will resist it. Some will call it arrogance. Call it selfish. Call it too much. But that's how it's always been. Every soul that's ever truly awakened has looked mad. To the ones still dreaming, let them call you whatever they want. You no longer live by their labels. You live by light, by integrity, by the quiet burning fire of alignment that asks nothing from the world except the space to be. You didn't come this far to dim. You didn't break chains just to trade them for softer ones. You didn't bleed truth just to settle for comfort again. You came to live, and now here you are. And that is more than enough. That is sacred. That is untouchable. That is the final liberation. When you realize you were never meant to be understood. You were meant to be felt. And now, as the world feels you in ways it can't explain, but will never forget, because the man or woman who walks in truth leaves an imprint deeper than memory. They leave a resonance, a frequency that moves the hidden parts of others, that stirs the sleeping truths in their bones, that calls the fragmented self back into wholeness. And this is the legacy you leave behind. Not a monument built from noise, but a presence carved from silence. Not an empire built from control, but a kingdom forged from inner mastery. You are not here to be followed. You are here to awaken. You are not here to gather crowds. You are here to gather yourself. And when you do, fully, fiercely, finally, you become the thing this world forgot it needed. A soul who is not for sale. You've seen what it costs to belong by betrayal. You've seen what it costs to climb by pretending. You've seen what it costs to be chosen while abandoning yourself. And you've said, never again. Because now you would rather walk alone in truth than be loved in a lie. You would rather be misunderstood in authenticity than applauded in performance. You would rather lose what was never real than hold on to what slowly kills your spirit. This is the end of that old life and the beginning of something sacred, something sovereign, something unshakably yours. So if you walk away from this with nothing else, walk away with this. You don't need more to become whole. You just need less of what was never you. And once you shed that, once you burn it, you will remember you've been free all along. You just forgot beneath the weight of what you were told to be. Now, you remember. And the world, it will never be the same again. Because when one soul remembers, truly remembers, it becomes a spark. And sparks ignite fires. Not the kind that destroy, but the kind that purify. The kind that melt the masks. The kind that light the path back to self. And though this path may be walked in solitude, you are never alone. Because every step you take in truth echoes into the collective. Every time you choose authenticity over acceptance, a chain breaks in someone watching. Every time you choose presence over performance, a mirror appears in someone's darkness. This is how revolutions are born. Not in loud declarations, but in silent courage. Not in systems toppling, but in selves awakening. You are the beginning of that, a living contradiction to every narrative that says you have to earn your worth, chase your peace, sacrifice your soul for love. You say no to all of it, not out of rebellion, but out of remembrance. Because you remember now, you were born enough. You were born free. You were born whole. And anything that told you otherwise was never love. It was control dressed in comfort. It was fear wearing a friendly face. It was safety that cost your aliveness, but not anymore. Because now you choose differently. You choose you again and again and again until that choice isn't a rebellion, but a rhythm, not a fight, but a frequency. And in that frequency, you find peace, you find power, you find home. So now you walk forward, not with certainty in what lies ahead, but with conviction in who you've become. You no longer ask the world to be softer. You have become stronger. You no longer ask the world to see you. You see yourself. And that is everything. You've learned that leadership doesn't mean domination. Presence doesn't mean noise. Love doesn't mean sacrifice. And freedom, real soul-ripping, heart-awakening freedom, doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It comes when you finally say, I choose myself. Not the illusion of me, but the deepest, truest, fiercest version I buried to survive. You exhume that version. You rise with it. You live it. Because in the end, this world doesn't need another copy. It needs your original fire. It needs your truth, your voice, your gaze, your scars, your soul, unhidden, unashamed, unapologetic. And if you've made it this far, if your heart is still beating and your spine still standing, you are not broken. You are becoming. So breathe deep, walk proud, and remember, you were never here to fit in. You were here to wake the world up